Nice to see you again here at Teach English Now. In this module, we've asked you to think about incorporating grammar into your reading and writing instruction. First, we talked briefly about why grammar instruction is necessary. We shared with you that language learners are not likely to use grammar accurately unless we give grammar some special attention. While there have been competing theories throughout the history of TESOL that sometimes state otherwise, most specialists today believe that grammar instruction is a necessary component of language education, and that learners need to notice and focus on grammar forms in order to eventually acquire them.
While there are a lot of things we could teach you when it comes to the topic of grammar, we introduced you mostly to the idea of noticing. We introduced 2 initial tips for helping learners when they notice and focus on grammar. First, you, as a teacher, must notice 2 things. First, the individual grammatical errors your students make, and second, the collective or group errors that your students make. While we haven't spoken too much about strategies to correct or instruct on student errors, we want you to know how important it is to pay attention to your learners themselves. This is one way to ensure a student-centered rather than a book-centered approach.
But let's not stop there. Not only are you supposed to notice your student errors, but part of grammar instruction involves helping students to notice their errors. We introduced Schmidt's noticing hypothesis, which states that it is not likely for students to improve certain grammatical features if they aren't made aware of them.
And how do you help your students notice grammatical features? We also mentioned Mike Sharwood Smith's idea of input enhancement. Smith suggests that if noticing is a problem, then one of the best things we can do as teachers is to make certain items are more clear, more salient, more noticeable. You want certain features, especially those that students are struggling with, to jump out at your learners. And in a reading and writing class, you can do this in a number of ways. If you notice your students struggling with a grammatical principle, you may wish to show that grammatical principle in your next reading by bolding, underlining, or italicizing examples of that principle. You might want to give instructions on that particular principle and give students time to practice it. And certainly, you can give students feedback on writing assignments that feature specific grammatical items that they need to start noticing.
Above all, remember that students are acquiring language on their own subconscious schedules, not on your curriculum calendar. And don't get caught up, like the Queen, on teaching elements of grammar that are not truly useful nor attainable by students. Acquisition in grammatical items sometimes takes a longer time than we teachers want it to. And often we teach tiny, difficult items, P's, if you will, that only a princess would be able to notice.
So, do you have explicit grammar instruction inside your own lesson plans? As you consider each lesson plan you write, you may want to step back and see if there are any grammatical items worth teaching. While noticing your learners is a good idea, one thing we didn't mention is that often the reading and writing assignments you use in your classroom create demand for certain kinds of grammatical items. As you create your own lesson plan, one more thing to notice is the grammar items that jump out at you. Is there a lot of present tense, future tense, phrasal verbs? Well, then maybe that is an opportunity to stop reading, stop writing, and have a little grammar noticing activity.
That's a great idea, Jessica. Now, as usual, it's your turn. After completing the writing prompt and reviewing your peers' submissions, it will be time for another checkpoint quiz. Remember that you can go back and review all the previous material in this module to make sure you are prepared. You can also post on the discussion boards if there are any concepts you want to discuss further with your fellow learners. Good luck, and we'll see you again soon.